Okay, here we are, the top of the 7th. It's been a lot of movement. We are going to have a couple melees. We still have to do the firing, of course, defensive fire for the Union. But here we have the Law's Brigade is still forming up pretty good. He's still pretty strong. He's stronger than I thought he'd be at this point. The only one that's taken a beating over here is the 44th Alabama. They're in column coming up behind the 48th Alabama, who's going to melee here the remnants of the sharpshooters and the 4th Maine. And then we got the 15th Alabama double timing to get up there and actually on par for a little more historical than I thought it was going to be. And then we have the 4th Alabama, which is pretty solid, coming up in column, trying to move. I think I might put them into column next turn, the 15th, depending on what the 48th can do and like swat these guys out of the way. But we are going to start getting closer here, so it'll get a little more bloody. Right here, some of Robertson's brigade, Hood's Old Texas Brigade. That's actually a little more shot up. Well, it's hard to say because the 1st Texas has gotten a lot of damage. The 3rd Arkansas has gotten a lot of damage. He couldn't even rally all of his guys. You can see the abandoned Union guns there of the 4th New York 1st and 2nd section. The 5th Texas over here is a little bit divided up. They're attacking this flank, and they're also over here pushing. They had to use a double time to get up there, so believe it or not, I thought they were going to sweep a little faster, but I mean, that's good enough. But the 4th Texas had to get lined up. They also have an ineffective unit. So those ineffective units really start to slow you down. I'm playing a little more legalistic, where the commanders would try to keep their unit together. They wouldn't just let dudes be running off. They would rally them back and get them back in line and keep them in line. So I've been trying to do the same thing. Treat that as a unit that's got to stay together. Don't just let the disorder or the ineffective units fall out of command because then they don't hurt you. That seems kind of cheese. So I'm not doing that. So we're going to have a big melee here, depending on what the Union can do. The Union really needs to pepper the 1st and 5th Texas here, especially the 1st. They need to just break them bad, otherwise they're in trouble. And what do we got there? We got remnants of the 99th, and the 40th New York is still pretty solid, except that one dude that took off. And then we got the 48th Alabama hitting the remnants of the sharpshooters in the 4th Maine. So can't see that going too well for those guys. But anyway, so I'll do that stuff, and then I'll come back after that for the Union movement. Or well, I'll do that, then I'll report the firing, and then we'll do Union movement. Here we are at the end of turn 7 offensive fire. So the 44th New York is being peppered a little bit by some of the Alabama boys here that are starting to work their way across the Valley of Death and starting to just about get to the beginning of the slopes of Little Round Top. So the mini balls are thudding into the regiment a little bit, but not a lot of damage or anything yet. Here we had little to no damage. I kind of gave up on doing the recording of the casualties by every 15 or every 8 minutes. It's slowing me down, and I forget anyway. So I'll probably, like I said, just do kind of an audit, maybe just at the end. But yeah, so over here, literally the 1st and the 5th Texas disordered on every shot. They didn't even knock out one strength point they killed out of all that. So I don't know what it is with those two regiments, but they're toe to toe, and they're just not wanting to hit each other. So anyway, that's it. We're going to do the melee phase, and then we will be on to the Union turn 7. See what we can do. But so next is the Confederate melee phase. Okay, so this is pretty much what we thought it would be. This little bit of remnants here really not holding out. The Confederates lost a few battles, or they lost like maybe a couple strength points total. The Union troops been getting routed pretty good. Get that melee counter out of there. Over here, pretty much drove back everybody that was in front of them except for the one guy. And they gobbled up a bunch of the 86th and 99th Pennsylvania there. So not a lot left there. I guess it's going to be up to Vincent Strong's brigade up here. See if they can hold that hill long enough for another brigade to show up. We got a couple units there, and then we got another brigade there with some artillery. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. This is looking pretty grim for the north. Most of these Confederate units are pretty solid still. So I'm going to work on the Union movement, and then so this is the end of the Confederate half of turn 7. So now we move on to the Union turn 7, which is going to be a lot of regrouping. And I think the only thing, it's a pretty decent game. The only thing I'm a little confused on is artillery. And I'm going to go back and read the rules. Maybe I'm doing that wrong, but it just seems that artillery should be a lot stronger than it is when it's firing, especially at canister range. It should just like blast those guys. So anyway, we'll check it out, and I'll let you know when I'm done here at the Union movement on turn 7. All right, here's where we are. It's the Union turn 7, and they're backing up to Little Round Top, and the rest of Vincent Strong's brigade, or Strong Vincent, I think his name is. I don't even remember. What is his name? Colonel Vincent. So it's Strong Vincent, I think is his name. So Colonel Vincent, he's getting his pretty decent brigade up there, but boy, there's still a lot of gray coming that's not too beat up. You know what I'm wondering is if I'm going to find that these guys are a little more fragile than they look because they're about ready to flip over to more ineffectives. Because it seems like once those ineffectives start hitting you, life gets pretty ugly. This is literally a mob of dudes. I don't even know what's under those. I purposely left it like that so that if it's mixed regiments, it'll make for some interesting stuff. Same with over here. This remnant here is all just hodgepodge. We got a couple of beat up companies still out in front of the line that haven't been able to fall back fast enough. Meanwhile, their comrades are pulling in behind them here to start forming a line. We got the 20th Maine. It's going to end up kind of historically where it was. We got the 16th Michigan alongside, and the 44th, or the 40. Yeah, this is the 44th, isn't it? Yeah, the 44th. And then the 83rd here decided to pull back up to the ridge. They're probably the worst regiment in the brigade. They ended up on the flank, and that's just bad luck, right? So we do have some guys coming out here next in a couple of turns, so they're about 15 minutes away from the field. So these guys realistically would see some dudes over there coming up in formation or hear them, so they're going to have to swing around and get ready to meet that person, that regiment. So I'm trying to play it out a little more historical than just, or a little more realistic than just, gaming, like, just they're not going to go sit on the A's so that they have to come in somewhere else. That's just kind of ridiculous. So that's it. So we're going to start the Confederate defense. Oh, I got one guy still got to move. Start the Confederate defensive fire, and we'll see what happens. So I'll move that guy, and then they need every guy they can get. Okay, so we'll move them, and then I'll do Confederate defensive fire. All right, well, here's the end of the, this is the end of turn 7 because the Union isn't going to melee. There's been some long-range fire, did a lot of disordering, made a couple units retreat. Nothing super exciting. The 40th New York, I redid their move because I forgot a guy right here. So they didn't fall back as far. They exchanged some fire with the 1st, mostly the 1st Texas, maybe some elements of the 5th Texas there. So the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm starting to think it's probably a little more even than it actually looks right at this moment, because the Union is going to start having units come in on B and A. And what do they got? They got the 6th New Jersey coming in on Area A, and the 140th New York coming in on Area C, and then a battery on Area C up in that area there. And then they get a whole brigade coming out. Weed's brigade will start coming out at areas B or C. So literally the Texas brigade here is going to probably have to take kind of a defensive position like this, right? Oops, smash these poor dudes. It's going to have to take more of a position like this and cover this flank because there's going to be some strength coming. The Confederates are going to have a Georgia brigade coming right up this way. And I think I'm going to put them in column and just come up right through this easiest terrain, right skirting the woods here. Because if they come up through here, that's just going to take forever. Law's brigade is going to start suffering fatigue here in a few turns. Not for a little while, but he's going to basically have to push on this brigade here, on Vincent's brigade, and see if he can shove them around, or at least beat them up enough so when the Georgians get up there, they can finish it off. So, in all honesty, it's probably looking closer than it is, because the Confederates have to keep pushing the attack, and the Union can start doing some volley firing. Rules-wise, I mean, when I was a kid, I thought this was the most in-depth game I've ever played. Rules-wise, there doesn't seem to be much of a benefit to... I'll have to go through. Maybe I skimmed them wrong or something, but it just seems like there's no benefit to sitting still and firing versus trying to move your guys forward. There's no penalty for moving and firing. I would think, But we'll see. Well, if it plays out close, I guess that's the bottom line. There's just not a lot of differences in either side. It seems like it comes down to the crappy Union morale versus the really good Confederate morale, and then and some good rolling, I guess. But I'm having fun. Don't get me wrong, but it just seems like this game seemed way more complex when I was 16 than it is when I'm 52. So, thanks for watching, and we will get started on turn 8.